I'm going to count us in and we'll get started proper. Okay, three, two, one. Welcome, friends. We have back with us the great Stacey Young. She is the creator, the founder, and executive director of Justice Connection. If you're not familiar with that organization, they are doing remarkable work. They are helping current and former DOJ employees who essentially are under attack, under assault by the Trump administration. We'll be talking more about the great work of Justice Connection in a minute, but let me give Stacey a proper introduction. Stacey Young is an 18-year Department of Justice veteran who worked at the department until January 24, 2025. She served as a senior attorney in the Civil Division and later in the Civil Rights Division, working under 5 presidential administrations and 7 attorneys general. She's the founder and executive director of Justice Connection. They provide direct support to current and recent DOJ employees facing attacks by the Trump administration. That support includes legal support, including pro bono, free legal representation for the folks who need it. It includes employment support. It includes mental health support and more. So, Stacey, first, thank you for what you're doing for those public servants, current and former, who need your help. And thank you for jumping on with us today.
Thanks for having me again. It's great to be here.
Okay, I want to throw this to you, and I'm just going to ask you what your top line takeaways are from Todd Blanche's failure to launch as Donald Trump's permanent attorney general.
I think it's fair to say that Todd Blanche has been the worst head of DOJ in the department's 155-year history. He has attacked the rule of law. He does that on just about a daily basis. He has attacked the Justice Department as an institution. And the thing we focus most on is that he has attacked DOJ's workforce. And DOJ is its career workforce. 99% of the employees who work at DOJ are career employees. They're not political appointees. They're the ones who hold the line. They're the ones who keep us safe. They're the ones who keep our economy running and protect our rights and ensure that there's election integrity. They do so much that affects all of our lives, and they are public servants who could be making a lot more money in the private sector. And this guy has spent the last year and a half attacking them. Under his leadership, almost 20,000 of them have left the department. That includes a third of the lawyers at the department. That includes thousands and thousands of FBI agents and analysts and people who protect our national security and our community safety. It is mind-boggling. And this is in addition to everything that everybody's talking about, the slush fund, the immunity deal, his mismanagement of the Epstein files, vindictive prosecutions, and so much more. But, one thing that we don't think gets enough attention is what he is doing to the career workforce, and the harm it's having is going to be generational.
The attack on the career workforce, the public servants, is an attack on the American people. I mean, I was with the department for decades. You were with the department for nearly 20 years. We did the work of the American people, not we didn't cater to the whims of any president. And we served both Republican presidents and Democrats over the years we were with the department. So and I didn't realize the number was as dramatic as a third of the public servants, the attorney workforce at the Department of Justice. That is a direct attack on the American people. And that is staggering. And it's going to be one heck of a rebuilding and reform and accountability mission when the rule of law comes back into the light of day, which I trust it will, beginning in January 2029. So Todd Blanche looks like I don't know what the precise status is of his nomination, because Trump is bloviating about maybe I'll withdraw it, maybe I'll delay it, maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll do that. But what we know is he didn't have the votes to even get Blanche out of the committee. So everything is now on hold. And I think, you and your organization were instrumental in, I'm going to say, achieving this result, at least in part. And you wrote a great piece that you posted a few days ago. And the piece is titled, "A Weird Thing Happened After 1,200 plus DOJ alumni signed a letter opposing Todd Blanche." Can you tell us a little bit about the origins of that petition? 1,200 plus public servants, attorneys from DOJ, former attorneys, signed a letter opposing Blanche's nomination. And what is the weird thing that happened in the wake of that?
Yeah. So we've spent, over a month at this point doing everything we can to push back on this Blanche nomination. We worked with Senator Booker's office to have a hearing in the Senate after his hearing where he just lied his face off, including where our communications director testified about how Blanche directly fired him. Uh, We've done tons of news hits. We've made videos with January 6 prosecutors and Ty Cobb and Mike Finoni, who is a Capitol Police officer. We've created documents to help senators understand what exactly Blanche has done. We have done a ton of work to make sure that senators know exactly what they are doing if they decide to vote for this guy. And we're going to try to hold them accountable if they do. But one of the things we did was organize DOJ alumni to sign a letter. And it was a letter discussing primarily the attacks on DOJ's workforce. And 1,200 people signed that letter, which is pretty astonishing, considering that it's hard to get, more than 2 or 3 DOJ attorneys to agree on anything, let alone sign a letter that they're not allowed to edit. So it was a pretty remarkable statement, something that's never happened at any time in the past. And Todd Blanche, the day we filed it, was interviewed on TV, and he said, "Well, I'm not a math guy, but 1,200 is not that large of a number." And I was stunned by this. I was stunned that he even responded to our letter, but then I was responded by the fact that he said 1,200 isn't many people. I mean, if 1,200 people opposed my promotion, I'd probably withdraw my name. But anyway, so a couple days later, I kind of brushed that off. And then a couple days later, somebody sent me a news story that talked about a letter that 77 DOJ alumni allegedly sent supporting Todd Blanche's nomination. And I thought, and then what happened was the White House put out a press release about this, and they were tweeting about it. And a bunch of kind of high profile DOJ or Trump administration influencers were posting about it. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that 77 is a whole lot smaller than 1,200. And why would the administration be boasting about having just a couple people support the guy when many, many times the number of people opposed him? It was bizarre,
So,
completely bizarre. And we didn't even see the letter. They didn't post the letter publicly. So we didn't even know who signed it. And it was the 4 people we do know about were all political appointees, and they chastised the people who signed our letter as partisan activists, which is preposterous because almost everybody was a former career employee. So it was just a stunning act of hypocrisy and kind of just pathetic behavior. I mean, it was very strange, and just kind of again showed how unserious this person is, how unserious this DOJ leadership is, and the fact that the Senate's even considering this nomination after what we've seen over the last year and a half is really appalling.
so let me get this straight. Um, Todd Blanche mocked and derided and tried to dismiss a letter that actually had the names, the signatures of more than 1,200 former DOJ employees or attorneys. Were they all lawyers?
Nope.
Okay, employees, DOJ employees. And yet the Trump administration crowed and pounded its chest and bragged about a letter that had allegedly 77 people supporting Todd Blanche's nomination. And have we seen the letter? Have we seen those 77 signatures?
We have not. No, we have not. I'll tell you
So,
though, 54 of Todd Blanche's former colleagues in his office from the Southern District of New York signed our letter. But we don't know if any of them signed this letter because we haven't seen it.
you
Why?
know,
I
if
mean, yeah.
if 54 of my colleagues from my prosecution days at the DC U.S. Attorney's Office had signed a letter saying I was unfit, I'm not sure I'd ever come out of my house again. I
I
mean, what
agree.
a searing indictment of somebody's unfitness to serve. And so I think that reinforces the headline of the piece you wrote. A weird thing happened after 1,200 plus DOJ employees said no to Todd Blanche. All right, so let me begin to wrap it up with this, Stacey. What's next? What do you see on the horizon? Let's assume that Trump either withdraws formally or just shelves his nomination. And frankly, I heard Trump suggest that, well, maybe I'll just, put it back into the mix after the midterms. And, this may be one of the few things I support Trump on. Why don't you just pull it now and wait until after the midterms? Because you may have an even less friendly audience in Congress after the midterms. But do we think Todd Blanche can now be permanent acting attorney general, which sounds oxymoronic? What do you see for the future of Todd Blanche?
It's really hard to know. There's a statute on the books that seems to suggest that he could stay in the acting position indefinitely. There may be constitutional challenges to that statute that could be made. It's just the Supreme Court hasn't ruled on this. Um, Constitutional scholars are kind of debating about what could likely happen. So I don't know. I think it's very possible that he doesn't go anywhere. So, an argument could be made that this is all for nothing. We disagree. It's a matter of principle.
Mhm.
It's a question of the Senate giving its stamp of approval on all of the abuses and corruption we've witnessed under Todd Blanche's leadership for a year and a half. The destruction to the department is going to take decades or longer to repair. The idea of rewarding him with a promotion is just unthinkable. So, I encourage everybody, if we don't have an answer in the next couple days, to reach out to your senator and let them know that the rule of law in this country matters. It's the foundation of our democracy, and we can't uphold it if the Justice Department is not aligned. It is not adhering to it. So this is extremely important, and I really do encourage everybody to pick up your phone or send an email. Just reach out and let your senator know that this is important to you.
And I want to give you the hallelujah chorus on the matter of principle observation because, I always pushed back against folks who said, for example, well, we can't impeach him, whether in the first term or the second term, because, the Senate is not likely to convict and remove. That would be like me as a prosecutor saying, well, we can't indict somebody and go to trial because there's no guarantee of a guilty verdict. No, it's the principle. If you've committed a crime and we have the evidence to indict you, and a not, reasonable likelihood of success on the merits at trial, we go to trial and we let the jury, sitting as the conscience of the community, make the decision. If somebody's committed high crimes and misdemeanors, and listen, we have like an endless buffet to choose from at this point of Donald Trump's high crimes and misdemeanors. I don't give a rat's ass what the Senate may or may not do. It's a matter of principle. You pass the articles of impeachment, you hand them off to the Senate, and you hold a trial, and you let the chips fall. And I think the same goes for Todd Blanche. It really doesn't matter how this thing might play out in the long run. We don't deserve, the American people don't deserve somebody like Todd Blanche as a permanent acting attorney general. And correct me if I'm wrong, Stacey, but the reason he gets to remain in that position, in perpetuity, because we hear so much about, well, after 120 days of, for example, an interim U.S. attorney being appointed, then, there are other mechanisms that kick in. Is that because he was previously Senate confirmed in his earlier position? So he's not kind of barred by that 120-day rule. Is that right?
Yeah, the statute concerns the situation where somebody was confirmed as the deputy attorney general. And if they were under the statute, they can stay on indefinitely. But again, there's some constitutional questions about the statute. But, you know, if I were a betting person, which I'm not, I would bet that he probably isn't going anywhere. But again, you're right. I mean, Impeachment is not going to get does not mean that you're ultimately going to win, but standing up for justice isn't about standing up for victories. It's about standing up for the right thing. And
I
that's
hope
what
somebody
everybody should be doing right now.
and I hope somebody thinks about challenging that statute because what we have seen is the Republicans are endlessly challenging statutes. And what happens? Well, the Supreme Court, is just not that enamored of things like laws passed by Congress or the express text of the Constitution these days after they spent their entire professional careers, some of them trying to convince us, I would say dupe us, into believing that they're textualists. So, you know what? Let's get our legal challenges on. Anyway, Stacey, can you tell everybody where they can find you and the great work of Justice Connection?
Yes, so you can visit us at thejusticeconnection.org, where you can learn all about what we do. You can check out our appearances in the media, letters we've written, the direct support we provide to DOJ employees. Please subscribe to our Substack. Um, it's Justice Connection. And if you're so inclined, we only are able to do this work because of people who understand why it's so important. So if you're able to make a contribution, and thanks, Glenn, for letting me do this, we would very much appreciate it. We're a small new organization, and every dollar helps us be able to continue this work.
And, we're so used to thinking about supporting our political candidates, our candidates for office with, monetary contributions. But what I have been preaching for a very long time now is there are these organizations, lots of great nonprofit organizations and other organizations that are fighting for the rights of the American people, fighting for our rights, including in court every day. We're fighting for the rights of these wrongfully terminated DOJ employees, these public servants who had been doing the work of the American people. These are the organizations that I donate to, and I'm not comfortable telling other people what organizations to donate to. But listen, I think you can do no better than supporting the organizations that are supporting our rights both in and out of court. So thank you for doing that, Stacey. Thank you for jumping on with us. And I have a feeling we'll be calling on you early and often for Blanche updates.
Happy to come back. Thanks so much, Glenn.
All right. Thanks, everybody.